on up and live your dreams. Don't you worry about little things. Your dreams have meaning.
Hey fam, it's Angie and welcome to season 2 of the Moving On series. Well guys, I have a lot to share because it's been 7 months. But when I tell you that this journey has been nothing short of amazingness, like that's not even a good enough word for it, guys. It's been mind-blowing just how good God is and how faithful He is to His promises. And I am so elated that I get to share my heart and love for God in this amazing journey with you. And so I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to jump right in because whenever I talk about Him, I just get excited and I can ramble on. So I'm going to do my best to be very concise and stick to my points. So if you see me looking over here, that's where my notes are because I want to stay on point because I really, really, truly want to just get and dive into all this good yumminess that He is. So if you are just joining me on this journey, my name is Angie and thank you for tuning in to today's episode. This all began, this Moving On series began June 2023 as I was deciding whether or not I was going to renew my lease in Chicago and stay for another year or if it was time for me to exit. And God gave me the green light actually in September 2022, but just have reconfirmed it that yes, it is time for you to move. Don't renew your lease. It's time for you to move on. So as I was preparing physically to move from Chicago to first stop was California because I didn't know where I was going. Like I didn't have a set destination on where I was going to move to, like put down roots. So the plan was to go to California, stay there, kind of rest and recoup because spiritually, I was also in transition and moving. God had just taken me through a 5-year healing journey from 2018 to 2023. And now that particular journey in my life had come to an end, and it was time for me to walk into my promised land, into the freedom that God now had for me and was releasing me from that intense healing journey because it was intense, and we'll talk about that later, but it was intense. And so now I'm walking into this new phase of my life. So both of these things are going on at the same time. They were running parallel to each other, my physical move as well as my spiritual move, hence the Moving On series. So I was sharing this journey with you guys, and we left off at the end of August with me sharing 3 things that the Lord had given me to do in this next season. And so I had mentioned to you guys that the Lord had given me the book of Joshua as my roadmap. And so I was sharing 3 of the things that thus far He had revealed to me from the book of Joshua that I was supposed to take on and to heed in my transition from my wilderness experience going into my promised land. So those 3 things, and I'm not going to go into detail about them. You can watch that video. But it was number 1, I was to keep the word before me. Number 2, I was to recommit myself to the promise, the cutting of a new covenant with Him. And then number 3 was eating on another level of eating new fruit, eating on another level, the fruit of the land, of the promised land. And so those are the 3 things that He had given me to do. So after I recorded that last video, I thought I was going to come right back to you guys with episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8. I thought it was going to be a 8 consecutive series, but I soon found out that that was not the case. That God had some work for me to do in that transition period of these past 7 months. I thought I was going to come right back and bang out those next 4 videos, but there was a rest. There was a period of rest, because that was also something, if you guys go back and watch the last 4 videos, I was saying that I was going to California to hear from God what was next, because I didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to move to California. I didn't know if I was going to move to Atlanta. I didn't know if I was going to move to Houston. I didn't know if I was going to move to Denver. Yeah, I was thinking about going to Denver. Like, I didn't know where I was going to go, but I was going back to that place, that resting place for me, to hear what God had to say. So that's what I did. So again, these past 7 months, I have been just in this place of rest in God. And one of the things that He reminded me of during this time period was that He had told me in January 2022 that He was going to restore and revive things in my life. That I was in a season of restoration and revival, a season of upgrade or better. And so what that meant to me was that He was going to restore things that had been lost, restore things that had been taken, restore things that I thought were dead and dried up. And He was going to revive those things. He was going to breathe new life into those things. And that those things, when He revived them, were going to be better than even before. Better than what I could even imagine they would have been before. So that was one thing that He revealed to me over these past 7 months. Like, okay, you are exiting this restoration period and I'm restoring things. And one of the things that God was restoring for me was taking me back to 2018. And this is why 2018 is so significant to me. So in 2018, I had taken off. It was, I think it was the second week of January. I had took off that week like I typically do to just get before the Lord. Fasting and praying, seeking His face about what He wanted me to do that year. You know, what we gonna do, Jesus? So I also entered into that time knowing already that my time in California was up. So I had been there. I had just made 9 years and was entering into my 10th year of being in California. And the Lord spoke to me that it was time for me to move. So I remember praying that week and saying, okay, Lord, what's next? Where are we going to go? And He said, where do you want to go? And I was like, where do I want to go? And I was surprised by that, because if you know my story, and again, you can catch it on the blog or watch some of the other older videos, but God had sent me to California in 2008. I never wanted to live in California. It was never a desire of mine. But the Lord spoke to me in July 2008 and told me that He wanted me to move to California. And so I did. So in December 2008, I moved to California. So because He had sent me to California and He was telling me now I was to move, I'm thinking He's going to tell me where to go next. Instead, He says, where do you want to go? And I was like, where do I want to go? He's like, yeah, where do you want to go? And so I had been talking to my friend who had recently moved to Medellin, Colombia. And she was telling me just about the amazing season that she was in of exploration, and just how her life had changed when she had come to visit Colombia and made the decision to actually move there. And I think at this point she had been there probably, was it, I don't know if she had been there a year or maybe for 6 months or longer, but she had been there for a while. And she was encouraging me to, Angie, come to Colombia, come and explore. And so I was like, you know what, Lord? I've always wanted to live in another country. That's been a desire of mine for as long as I can remember, is that I wanted to have a life that would allow me the ability to be able to live abroad for 3 months or 6 months at a time in a year, especially living in Chicago to escape that cold. It would be great to be able to be somewhere else and experience that culture. So that was something that was a desire of mine. So I was like, you know what, Lord, I want to go to Colombia. So I set my heart to go to Colombia in 2018, January of 2018. So I had set my heart to go to Medellin, Colombia. And I was going to be there. I was going to move there at the end of the summer. And then first I was going to travel Europe with my friend and her family at the time for a couple of months. And then I was going to go to Colombia in September of 2018. So one of the things as I was preparing for this move to Colombia, God was speaking to me about what he wanted me to do once I got there. And he wanted me to come to sit at his feet. Now, I have shared just a little bit or mentioned it just a little bit in some of the other videos that God had called me to ministry. Now, when I say ministry, I'm not meaning in the traditional sense that we think that I'm going to go and minister, pastor a church or be a minister in that kind of aspect. But I know in my heart of hearts that God has given me a call for evangelism, to share the gospel, the good news with other people, just like I'm doing right here in this video. And so when I say minister, it just means walking in the vocation or the arena that God has given me to bring my unique perspective and share him. And so that's what I'm doing here, and he has even more that he wants me to do. And so he was calling me into that. And in 2018, so that was part of the journey for me going to Colombia, was to sit at his feet. He gave me an invitation to come and sit at his feet in Colombia, and that's where he was going to download those next steps for me as it related to that ministry call. So fast forward, I'm not going to get into the whole story. Again, you can check out the blog. I talk a little bit about it, and I think part 2 of Escape to Mexico post that I did. You can read that, as well as I think part 1, but I ended up not making it to Colombia in 2018 because I made a choice and decision to stay in California, which turned out to be the wrong decision, but the right decision. So, and I just give you a little bit of that. So I made the decision to stay in California to be under the tutelage of another pastor. So this pastor offered me the opportunity to come and to sit at his feet, guys, and I'll get to that in a minute, to come and learn under him. He saw the call on my life for ministry and all those things, and so here was this opportunity. Now, I'm going to share this with you guys. I don't think I've shared this before, but so when the Lord had put on my heart that he wanted me to do something ministry related, again, with my traditional thinking, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I need to go to ministry school. So literally over the course of some years, I had filled out 3 ministry school applications. And every time that I filled out those applications and was ready to submit them, the Lord was like, that's not what I told you to do. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking like at some point he's going to he's going to release me to go to ministry school. But that wasn't his plan for me. His plan for me was to sit at his feet in Colombia and to learn of him. But let me get back to the story. So I made the decision to stay and learn under this pastor because, again, I'm thinking the Lord is calling me to ministry. I need somebody that's been in this thing to tell me what to do or how to do this. So I made the decision to stay, but it was the wrong decision, but the right decision. And what I mean by that is that I had prayed and asked God when he very first impressed upon my heart this ministry, that I didn't want to go into ministry with anything in my heart that would keep me from speaking what thus saith the Lord. I didn't want anything to hinder me and make me cause anybody else to stumble or fall. I didn't want there to be anything in my heart that would cause somebody else to be in error. I just wanted to avoid all the things that I had experienced being on the other end of, someone in ministry or in a ministry capacity that had impacted my life. And so I wanted to make sure that as I stepped into that function, that I was doing it with the right intention, I was doing it with the right heart, and that as much as I could, that this heart slate would be clean. And so I asked him to reveal any hidden things in my heart, that I couldn't see, that I didn't know that were there, so that I could walk into what he had next for me. So when I say that decision was a wrong decision, but the right decision, I made the decision to stay, which was wrong. I should have taken my little self on to Colombia to sit at the feet of the Lord instead of sitting at some man's feet. But it was the right decision because it exposed something in my heart. I didn't know that I needed, at that time, affirmation from man. I was seeking that affirmation from man because of a father wound that had not been healed in my life. And so, because I never had my father to affirm me. We heard this talk about father wounds, and that was something that the Lord really healed me from over that 5-year healing journey that he took me on, because I didn't have that sense of identity that comes from your father, and I'll get more into that later as I share, but it is very significant. Just the revelation that God gave me as he took me through that healing journey about the significance of father and why we relate to him as father is very significant. And so I'll get into that more later. But yeah, I was supposed to go to Colombia in 2018 to sit at the feet of the Lord. Instead, I chose to sit at the feet of man, and all hell broke loose in my life. Woo, it was not good. I lost everything. And I thought I was losing everything because the enemy was attacking me. And I remember, guys, I would show up at this church, like I was at that church every day. But Friday, I was at that church every day. And I was loving it. I love being in an atmosphere of worship. I love serving. I love all of it. And, but I was out of order. I wasn't being obedient to what God had called me to do. Because, guys, even if you're doing something that is good, if it's not in God's timing and it is not in His way, you still are out of alignment and you are in disobedience, even if it's a good work. And so that's exactly where I found myself. And so when all hell was breaking loose in my life, I would be sitting there at the Bible studies and I'll be like, man, like this is going on and this is going on. And they're like, oh, that's because you're doing ministry and blah, blah, blah. That's nothing but the enemy. And it was like, no, there was no enemy involved in any of this. This was all disobedience. This was all the result of disobedience. And I didn't know that at the time. So I'm thinking I'm being attacked by the enemy and all this stuff. And it was none of that. It was just I was reaping the seeds of my disobedience. And so it had gotten really bad. It got to the point where it had gotten really bad. It had gotten to the point where I was starting to get depressed. And I hadn't been depressed. Like God had delivered me from that old spirit of depression some years ago. So when I started feeling like a twinge of that, I was like, something's not right. And again, I mentioned in one of the videos, I took a ride to Malibu one day. I just couldn't take it anymore. I took a ride to Malibu, and because that for me was like, I love being by the water. And I just cried. I just remember just standing at the edge of the water and just crying and just like, Lord, like what is going on? Like I am doing this for you. Like what the what? And just poured out my heart. Cried out my heart and got back in the car and drove back home. And literally that, I want to say, was it that night? I want to say it was that night is when God began to reveal to me what was going on. And fast forward, it ended me up back in Chicago. So I ended up leaving that ministry, and then I moved back to Chicago. And that's when God began the healing journey for me. So now we can fast forward back to the present. So thanks for hanging in there with me about that. But you needed to know like where I was headed in 2018, what was going on. So when God said He was restoring, guys, I thought I had messed up so bad that God would never use me again, because I had made the wrong decision, and that hurt me so bad. Like I can't even tell you how utterly like destroyed I was from that experience, because there were some other things that transpired in that whole thing, and I'm not gonna discuss them on this video, but it was bad. Like it was devastating. So when I went back to Chicago, I was utterly broken and devastated, and I thought that was it for me. So when God said that He was going to restore and revive, and it was going to be better than what I could have ever imagined, He reminded me of 2018 and about that invitation that He gave me to come sit at His feet. And that's what He meant. You know, I looked at it in so many other ways, like, and I'll get to that in some of the other videos over the next couple of weeks, but I literally was about to go to Spain. Like I was due to go to Spain in February and last month. And again, because I was not fully understanding what that restoration was or what God was meaning. And so yeah, but God is so good. He didn't allow me, because He knew my heart. Like He didn't allow me to make another mistake. He didn't allow me to go in another direction. He steered me, he rearranged me, he steered me to the right one. So right now I am actually in my place in Medellin, Colombia. So over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you guys from Medellin, Colombia. That is where I am right now. And for this season of my life, to just sit at the feet of Jesus, to hear what thus saith the Lord, to hear what he has to say. So I'm excited. Like, I don't know what's all going to go down. I don't know how it's going to go down. All I know is that I'm walking in expectation to hear from him and to just be with him. And yeah, that's where I am right now. Again, I'll tell you guys more about that journey and what it looked like and the things that I learned about myself over these past 7 months and the things that he was showing me. I'll get more into a little bit more of detail of that, but that's all I have for you guys today because, oh man, I could just go on and on. But yes, I am in Medellin, Colombia, and God is faithful. He is so faithful. And he has given me another opportunity to pick up where I left off, to start again, you know, and that's a word for somebody. It's your season to start again. It's not over. What you thought was lost, what you thought was stolen from you, what you thought was dead and could not be revived, God is breathing new life into your situation. It is not over. This is your season for a comeback. This is your season of restoration, your season of revival, your season for the upgrade, for better. It's going to be better than it was before. And so that's making me think of that scripture that he's restoring the years that the cankerworm, the palmer worm, the locusts have eaten. That's a scripture of restoration. And that's what I speak over your life right now, a season of restoration and revival. And so, yeah, so we have more episodes to come. And it's good, guys. But yeah, I arrived here on Monday. I can't believe it. I'm still in utter shock and disbelief. But it's good. God is good. He's faithful. And so we'll share some more with you guys on next week. So until next time, guys, I love you. And be blessed and smooches.